The DJ Smooth Breakfast.
You're definitely listening to the DJ Smooth Breakfast 724. Shout out to DJ Tech on that killer old school classic house mix. You are live on Peli FM 95.0, Commuter FM 87.6, and Massive Metro. That's www.massivemetro.com. Tell all your friends, your colleagues, but download the Massive Metro app. It's available or wherever you downloaded your Twitter, wherever you downloaded your Facebook, wherever you downloaded your WhatsApp, the same place you can go and download the Massive Metro app so that ukarutlella anywhere, anytime. Shout out to everyone who's in the taxi or letting honanu citizen being Glen Lewis, the legend, the man, the role model, the icon. I call him Grootman. His real name is Glen Chinaba, South African radio personality, DJ and record producer, popularly known for being on Metro FM, Bob Radio for some of us who grew up listening to him there. Ama 2000 would probably just know him from Metro FM and his current achievements. Grew up in Soweto, South Africa. He was in the 2003 Pop Stars competition when he was a judge there. Featured in the second season of City Sesla. I can go on to read his profile, but some of the things that I'll just pick up quickly, just to put you up to speed as to who our guest is, in case you don't know, you've been living under a rock. He joined Metro FM in November 1995, where he started working on the 12 to 3 p.m. slot. After a year, he moved to the drive time slot 3 to 6 before hosting the breakfast show Monday to Friday. He was also on Mubango as Edward Mukwevu back in 97. In 99, Mr. Glen Lewis released, he founded Skilo and Pebbles Entertainment. That same year, he became a radio presenter at Metro FM. It says here as well, he held several positions: radio jock, radio bop. He was there as well. He was also a TV presenter, SABC1's Techniques Out of the Beat. Remember that?
Yeah, remember
Techniques
that. In fact, when you say that, I want to ask quickly: did you do Barking? Where's the beat on Bob? Is it where's the on the?
No, I didn't do TV at Bob.
Is it?
I only did radio. Yeah, Eddie Zond is the one who was on TV.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do was to do the introduction and say both of them started on Radio Bop, right, by the way. For those who don't know, the new generation, Radio Bop was a radio station based in the Northwest when the former Bophuthatswana was a homeland before it became part of South Africa. And the Broadcasting Corporation of Kara Northwest was called Bop. There was TV Bop and Radio Bop.
Template.
So both of them, that's where they started their careers. So
template.
This conversation is going to be interesting.
Excuse me, I started in Toyando.
Oh, is it?
Yes, yeah.
I didn't know.
Now you know.
How did it start, Glenzo?
Well, that's where I started. My radio career started there in Toyando. I was there for possibly a year and a half, and then from there I went to Radio Bob. So what I did was, when I wanted to be on radio, obviously I looked around for radio stations. You know, sometimes when you grow up and you have ambitions to be either a soccer player or radio DJ, you normally start with the station that you like or the most popular one. So obviously I tried radio stations in Gauteng, and I decided, let me try elsewhere, you know. Then I started doing some research about Toyando, Radio Bop, and then I did some demo tapes from my house. And then I remember sending 2 demo tapes, one to Radio Bop and one to Toyando. And I think within 2 weeks, both radio stations responded. So, okay,
wow,
come and audition. And I remember when I went to audition, it was almost this time, Easter weekend, because then I had to go to Toyando to audition on Easter weekend. I went there, got there on Saturday, did the audition, came back home on the Sunday. The next weekend, jumped into a train to go to Mufftown to audition at 9 a.m. on a Saturday, did the audition, jumped back into the train, Park Station, arrived at 5 a.m., waited for sunlight, jumped into a taxi and went home. Very adventurous, but yeah, I was hungry, you know.
Why radio?
To do this
because I'm sure it was not popular. Now it's popular. Everyone wants to be a DJ.
Well, I think, you know, growing up, obviously, I always loved music. My family was surrounded by music. My late brother was a musician, and then when I was at school, one of my best friends, his name is Tamintuli. His father was the first guy to do breakfast on Metro FM when it started.
Wow.
So me and Tammy, we were friends. So before Radio Metro started, his father worked for Swazi Radio. So they shared the same studios with 702. For those who don't know, before 702 became Talk, it was a music station. So they had offices downtown Johannesburg.
I didn't know 702 was a music station.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Initially, I wanted to work for 702 because I loved it, you know. So I used to do demo tapes for 702 as well. So after school on Wednesdays, because we used to have athletics, and me and Tammy didn't want to do athletics, so we used to go to the studio to hang out with his dad, see him recording the shows. There were people like John Baggs, Koki Tubull, and I would sit there and look at these guys. And I think that's the day that I decided to be on radio. Tammy also wanted to be on radio. Obviously, the father was a DJ, but I was more hungry. I wanted it. And, you know, I remember one day we were having a conversation in his father's car, because his father also had a job. His wife was based in Klerksdorp. And then we were driving to Klerksdorp for a weekend, and he was saying to his dad, we were talking about radio, and I was telling his dad I want to be on radio. And I remember his dad saying to him, you, my son, I'm going to help you to be on radio.
With that radio voice.
I was devastated. With that radio voice. I'm going to help you.
I was devastated, obviously. I was like, oh, okay.
He's going to help you, son.
I want to be on radio. And when I came back, I was like, I have to do this thing myself. Obviously, I don't know any journalists. I don't know anyone. You know, I don't know a lot of people. I don't know the history of radio. Obviously, the requirements, they will tell you need to have this and you have that. And those are apartheid days. And so obviously I did those demo tapes, and by that time I was working in Crisis, Johannesburg. Yeah, there was a factory there that was manufacturing steel and supplying mines.
I'm gonna disturb the story. I want to hear the story. Please just hold it there. Let me go to the news bulletin. We're hanging out with the legend. We're celebrating his life, Glen Lewis. We love the music, but we want to hear the story. His name is Glen Lewis. He's in the studio. It's 7:51 on the DJ Smooth Breakfast. Raudumedi Sapeli FM 95.0. We are live on Commuter FM 87.6, and we're live on MassiveMetro.com. Download the Massive Metro app. We're celebrating the life of a I call him a genius, a legend. I call him a pioneer. When you listen to, we used to call him D45 for Ronakokas. I'm a 45. Yeah. That's when this is when I started.
Does it have any other name?
I don't know.
Mid-tempo.
I'm a mid-tempo. Yeah.
Mid-tempo.
I thought that was the title of the album.
This is when I started.
It makes sense.
Mid-tempo.
The journey from pop to Metro.
Okay. I think when I was at Bob, I was there for a good 5 years, you know, and I got to a point where I said to myself, okay, I need to move. And obviously there were changes in the country.
Yeah.
There were changes in the country. You know, there was a movement. You could tell that something was going to happen. And I was young, you know, I'm surprised. So obviously Bob Mabena was already in Johannesburg. A lot of people had moved to Joburg, would teach Mataz. And then I spoke to this other guy called Ken Modise. He worked at the SABC, and I said, listen, I need to move. You know, how do I get to Metro?
Oh, Nana, you'll get there the same way you got to Bob.
Yeah. So it was a bit easier. And then, I mean, we set up an appointment with Kos Khadebe, who was the station manager. And for the first time in my life, a station manager asking you, so how much money do you want?
You didn't believe it.
That's never happened. Even now, even now in this day and age where you think things would be much easier to negotiate a contract, it does not happen. But 1995, he asked me, so how much you want?
Yeah.
And you said?
I said, I want 95. I said, I want 20K, 20,000.
Yeah.
He says, okay, sharp.
What?
Here's the contract I signed.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen now.
Yeah, no, it cannot happen now.
It does. Do you know what I mean? That's how Coach Khatebe was. So
he's an incredible sport, man. I've celebrated him as well on cause.
I think the DJing part of it for me, when I decided, okay, let me start DJing seriously, because when I was in Mafikeng, I didn't have a car, so we had a subsidy to buy a car. But instead of doing that, I opted not to buy a car. So I used to save the subsidy for my car.
Please explain to them, More. Go Bob. They had benefits.
Yeah, we had benefits.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
benefits.
Yeah.
13th check.
Yeah.
13th check.
Yeah.
subsidized car, a place to stay, a duplex.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How much were you paying? When I stayed there, I was paying $300 or something easily like that.
Maybe less than that. But yeah, I had a beautiful apartment. So I was saving for that, you know, to buy furniture for my apartment. So I didn't buy a car, and I was saving for a car. So I bought a bicycle. That's why people always mock me and say, I used to cycle in Mufftown, but I cycled for a reason. Because I wanted to save money. So when I had saved money, I bought brand new turntables. I brought a sound system, bought furniture, and then I started learning how to DJ. I was actually helped to DJ
Dr.
by
Malinga, you've never interviewed him, but anyway, yeah.
I was helped to DJ by two guys, DJ Q.
DJ Q
and Sekhali Mokhosi's younger brother, lately.
Yeah,
I didn't know Lately was a DJ.
Crowded Crew.
You know that Crowded Crew, the demo tape for Inadi Blazer was recorded in my apartment.
Are you serious?
By Bruce Sibitlo. Yes.
Yo.
So Bruce came to me because I had a beautiful sound system. So he said, Glen, can I record a demo? I'm like, yeah, come. So he came with Lately and KB, you know, Mamosadi, and they recorded the demo tape in my house.
Wow.
So that's how, you know, and I started learning how to DJ, and that's how it started. I met people like Christos. I used to play for free, you know. I was just happy to play
the music. Now you're happy to play, but they're getting involved in the music part now, and Skilo and Peoples.
Okay, well, that started when I was in when I was in Johannesburg, because I think as a kid I've always been adventurous about music, you know. Like if my brother bought an album, a Josh Benson album, if everyone else was playing Give Me the Night, I would look for a different song. That's the kind of person I've always been, you know. And I know sometimes it pisses off people when I do gigs, but you know, that's who I am, you know. If you can't buy a Versace, it's fine, you know. I'm that kind of person. Like if I play a certain type of music, but it has worked for me. I mean, when I started playing mid-tempos, others were playing them, but I was daring to play them at colleges, play them on air. You know, Metro was not playing that type
until
of music.
They became big.
Yeah, and
you made them big, actually.
Yeah, so I used to play them on air. You know, people, what are you doing? But you know, I always said, give music a chance. And you know, with time, people started getting used to them. And I knew I was doing the right thing when Fat Joe was at YFM. So you know, Fat Joe doesn't know anything about like house music. So he calls me and says, Glen, dude, what are you playing? This is awesome. And I was like, okay, this is the right stuff. So I went to Tim White. I'm like, Tim, can we
House Africa Records?
Yeah. So I said, let's do a compilation. He says, what are we doing? Get mid-tempo. I said, okay. You know, Glen, you're probably going to sell gold within a month. I was like, So we released mid-tempo 99 around June. I know it was winter. I remember when I took the photo shoot, I was doing breakfast at Metro.
Yeah, Power Breakfast Show. Yeah, PBS. I used to wake up. That's when I was at Varsity. Power Breakfast Show.
So we took the picture
when
outside
Tupac and Biggie died, Glen was the one who was narrating that entire situation in the morning. Never late for a classing. Power Breakfast Show, PBS.
Yeah.
I remember it. Mr. Kevin Carr was in America. He used to be his reporter at the time.
Yeah, even for Bob.
Yeah. Anyway, so get the goosebumps.
So yeah, I mean, when that story broke, because I think I was one of the few people or radio DJs.
You were the first one
who had internet. So I had internet in my house.
Because things used to arrive here 3 months late.
Yeah.
What you guys know now about Americans instantly, we used to know 3 months late. Even the music used to arrive 3 months late.
TV shows,
everything,
movies.
Yeah. So I had internet in my house in Morningside. So I remember one day waking up, searching, and then there was a big story. Notorious B.I.G. is no more. Yo, I was devastated. Obviously. So I prepped for that, and there was freedom of music at Metro that time.
Yeah,
you know, you are not dealing with these.
When they hired you as a presenter, they hired you for your creativity.
Yeah,
what you were bringing to the show, as opposed to dictating
and making a contribution.
Right.
You know, musically, because you can't hire a DJ and have some compiler.
Who doesn't even go out.
Who doesn't
even
go out. But you see, this is where people talk about, you know, power corrupts, you know, because when you're a compiler, you have a certain power. Do you know what I mean?
The in is through you.
Yeah, you sell to your friend, compiler for Sbu, and you sit together having beer and listening. If Sbu doesn't play what you compile, because when he doesn't play it, people laugh at you, but who the hell are you? And then it becomes a personal thing.
Right.
So we had that freedom, and I think that's the reason why listenership at Metro went up. You know, within 5.
So
6
each
years.
show has had that type of individual input.
No.
It had a personality to it, not just a presenter, but it had a personality to it.
Because I used to buy so much music. I mean, I broke a lot of songs.
You had more music than the station had.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I broke more songs on air. You know, I remember playing Fat Joe, all the things your men won't do.
Yeah.
Playing Notorious B.I.G., Boys to Men, Biz Marquee. Yeah. Well, not to even mention house music. And obviously the show became a movement with students. You know, young people. Cause
it was us.
Yeah, young people.
You need to remember, know everything about. You know your fan knows you more than you know yourself.
It was us. I was
There's
the guy.
youngsters who tell me about things I've forgotten. I'm one of those. I know so much. Yeah.
So and then so we did the compilations mid-tempo. You know, I remember going to the Eastern Cape. So we had a gig there. The sound was whack. I mean, it was the 90s, but the unique thing about mid-tempo, because you didn't play it at its original speed. You slowed the music down. It had a huge bass.
Yeah.
So and I'd be like the last one to play. Suddenly the sound system would sound different. Do you know what I mean? Like people would say, "Oh, man, why is the sound?" But it was because of the songs.
Right.
So the first 3 songs, people just looked at me playing this mid-tempo. The 4th song, we went right to the top, and that's how the genre became popular.
Celebrating the life of the legend Glen Lewis. We're coming back. We want to speak some more. We're talking about the story. We're talking about the timeline, and we're talking about the different eras: the music, the broadcasting, the man, the trendsetter, the pioneer, and what he has become right now. This huge, big brand that every South African grew up to. He's become pretty much a soundtrack to your life at some point. Let's go to the 8 o'clock news, Zulu News Bulletin with Zanele Wakashabalala. Glenzo.
One of my favorite tracks, and I remember when I was still doing the countdown, this is another one that I used to rock there, and I think I actually called him on air to say, and like, what does Neo do? I think you remember that conversation when I called you were driving on. What is this? Oh, like, okay, we spoke about it.
Yeah.
And you know, I like the discipline. There's a couple of things that you mentioned while you were telling your story. One was when you were at Kopop, you know, when everyone was getting subsidized funding for a car, you decided, look, now I'm actually going to use that to actually set myself up in terms of music by buying the equipment. So you're investing in your career. Off air, when we were talking, you were talking about the discipline that went into how you strengthen your body in order for you to be a formidable player. And that meant walking from home on a daily basis when you're going training and all of that.
Gym.
And I love that discipline, and I guess that's that gave you staying power. But apart from that, what else?
Well, what is it that you want to know? What else?
Longevity.
Longevity. I think longevity is about, you know, listen, I've never wanted to be a boss. I've never wanted to be a manager. I've never wanted to be a program manager. All I want is to be on air. I think that's the reason why, you know, after all these years, I'm still on air, because I love radio.
It's what you love,
Yeah, it's what I love.
It doesn't feel like you're working even.
No, for me, it's a hobby. It's a hobby. I do a lot of research. Like, I prep the show when I knock off in my head. What are we doing tomorrow? When I get home, watching TV, I'll open a computer, do some research. Do you know what I mean? So I prep constantly, because I imagine myself as a listener and say to myself, would I want to listen to me if I was a listener? So I try very hard, you know, to come up with different things and try to make radio simple. I don't want to make radio complicated. You know, you make it simple, you make it enjoyable, you engage the listeners.
That
for me, it's not about I don't get my research from newspapers, because everybody then reads newspapers. So whatever it is that you tell them on air, you're telling them something they probably went through. So I go to different places, dark places, to find stories, you know, for my radio show. And that has always been the case. And obviously, if you say it is staying power and longevity,
consistency.
That's
by the way, for all those years, he's never done a show sitting down. He doesn't sit down. It's just today he's a guest. When he does it, why do you stand up? Why do you stand?
Well, I think that started when I was at Radio Bob.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
When I was asked to do the breakfast show. Who had left the station? Was it Mabena?
I wouldn't know because that was before me, but I came in like much later.
Tapelo called me and said, listen, we want you to do the breakfast show. And then I went there one day and I was like, okay, here's a challenge. Because in the past, when you started radio, you used to do different shifts. I was actually timetable. You know, like you're working at as a security, but I went in night shift in Amklanje.
Yeah.
So I did all shows. So there were times where this week you're doing 12 midnight up until 3 a.m. The next week 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. The next weekend 12 to 3 in the afternoon. So that was radio back in the day. So one day they decided, no, we're not going to move people now. You're going to do the breakfast show permanently. And that's why I started standing. Because
was it conscious?
Yeah, it was just conscious, the excitement, you know, of having to do a breakfast show. And also I got a lot of energy from, you know, the guy who does traffic at 702, Aki Anastasio.
Yeah,
he used to do traffic at Radio Bob.
Okay, I didn't know.
So Radio Bob, and because Radio Bob was in Buputazwana, 702 was licensed in Buputazwana. So there was some kind of a relationship.
Medium wave as well.
702 had studios in Harangua, you know that?
Oh, I didn't know.
Yes.
Okay.
With a pool and everything.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so 702 had studios there. So Aki used to be that guy who used to do the traffic and also used to inspire me, like, you know, and I decided one day, let me do the show standing up. You know, which for me, yeah, it was a great thing, you know.
And then
gives you energy, and you move around a lot.
Yeah.
When you're not sitting.
Let me
down.
ask you this, but you know, I've seen you, and I've seen quite a few people go pop that did their shows standing up, and the design of the studio as well. The desk was not as low. It was, I mean, it was this. Yeah,
it was a high desk.
You know what I mean? And there's a different energy though when you're doing your show standing
up.
It's like a DJ. It's like you're in a club, basically. I think also the desk plays a major role.
Right.
That's why you're able to stand up.
The change and the shift with culture, and obviously you've been relevant all the way to now as well. What are some of your opinions? You've been through all these different eras, this era that we're in right now.
Yeah, well, you know, listen, man, in life you need to accept change. You know, a lot of us resist change, but you have to change. Like, you know, now you have mumble rap, you've got trap.
Yeah.
Those who were in the 90s, Bob Bismarck would be like, what are these people doing? But Libona, they were also under pressure when rap changed in the 90s.
They were bringing their own flavor.
You know? Even in South Africa, when Kwaito kicked in, the older generations criticized, what is this? This is bubblegum music. Even now, there's new trends. You don't have to work that hard these days to be on radio.
Even to be a DJ.
You know, it's easier because of the technology. It is easy, you know.
But it's called adapting, though, right?
Yeah, no, you have to
the trends.
Yeah, you have to. But I believe that, you know, if much as it's easy, if you get that opportunity, you need to embrace it, enjoy it,
respect it.
Do you know what I mean? Because like I was saying, these days you can be popular on social media and get a radio gig, you know. But the question then someone will ask is, okay, if you have 3 million followers, do you think automatically those people will follow you on radio? Chances are they won't. Because Chances are they won't. Because those are two different platforms.
I know for a fact that they won't, considering that I've had that type of experience.
Yeah, chances are on social media they follow you because you have fancy cars, Ferraris, Bentleys. You pose next to them, so they want to see.
And posing is stationary.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? But you know what? That's the way it is. Even with the DJ culture. I mean, if you were to bring back vinyl, 90% of the DJs would just be unemployed.
Yeah. But it looks like they're coming back.
You know what I mean? Yeah, no, they are definitely
vinyl parties, these shows.
But who's playing those vinyl? These are people that used to play that type of stuff.
Yeah,
it's almost like they it's an art form that they miss and they want to bring it back to the fore.
I think it would be nice for the new generation to experiment with vinyl and say, listen, you know, I always say you get more respect as a driver if you can drive a manual car.
A manual car, yeah.
Anyone can drive an automatic. Do you know what I mean? So if you want the respect, you know, you need to go back and say, let me just buy 2 turntables, have like 300 vinyls, and just mess around with them. Do you know what I mean? And experiment, because you never know. Things change. Fashions come and go.
True.
The music, deep house. Why deep house?
Well, you know, like I said, I mean, from an early age, I've always been adventurous in terms of music. I've always wanted to play unique sets. I think that's the reason. I mean, if you look at the history of the albums that I've dropped in the past, you look at mid-tempo, right? and then from mid-tempo I did numero uno. I mean, it's not often that you find someone just doing a compilation that is completely Latin